Hi, boys and girls. Welcome to Reading in Miss Chase's living room. Happy to have ya. So, we're going to talk a little bit about what we're doing for reading this week. Mrs. Swiss has assigned something from the RCC book, and we are responsible for reading 3 different passages. And in the end, we're going to be required to complete a written response. Okay? So, I know if I'm going to be writing something about some text, I definitely want to know what I'm going to be writing about before. So I'm going to go ahead and look at page 262 so I know a little bit about what my response is going to have to say. Side note, as I've mentioned a few times in some of my other videos, if I'm moving too fast or if you need time to get out your materials and I'm moving on, feel free to pause me, get those things out, and then you can come right back in. Okay? So once you get to page 262, I'm going to just highlight some of these things that we're going to be looking for in the texts we're reading. So the prompt is that, how are the 3 accounts of the Boston Tea Party similar and different? Okay, so I'm comparing in some way. Write your answer to the question, and in your answer, be sure to, I'm on this first bullet here, identify the overall structure of each text. Okay, so that's like how my text is written. What is the structure? Explain how the 3 writers' points of view are alike and different. Okay, so that's like the perspective that it's being written from. Was the person there? Was it a secondhand account where they're telling about it? Okay, what are their points of view here? And lastly, use key details from the 3 accounts in your answer. Okay, so I know I'll be listening for those details for sure anyway. Okay? All right, so that's what my response is going to be about. So I'm thinking about those things in my mind. Then I want you to open up to page 250. Okay? And I'm going to film 3 different videos, one for each passage. Okay? So what I'm going to do is just read the passage aloud to help you guys to understand it a little better, okay? So as I'm reading aloud, your job is to have your RCC book open and you're following the text with your eyes as I read. Remember how I say you can't be reading if you're not looking at text, right? So please be sure to be following along or you're probably not going to understand it as well as you would if you were actually reading along with me, okay? So I'm going to jump in and get started on this first little blurb part because I don't want to skip anything that might be important. So that's important for me to read too. So it says, Joshua Wythe was only 16 years old when he was a participant in the Boston Tea Party. He reported the details of his adventurous night to a local pastor. This first-hand account was found and published in a book edited by Francis S. Drake. The full title of the book is Tea Leaves, being a collection of letters and documents relating to the shipment of tea to the American colonies in the year 1773 by the East India Tea Company. That is a very long book title. Okay, so this actually gave me a little hint. I already know this is going to be from the perspective of a first-hand account. So I know this guy, Joshua Wythe, was actually there. And he was only 16 years old, too, when he participated in the Boston Tea Party. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read the actual passage called Boston Tea Party, Eyewitness Account, Joshua Wythe. We're going to start right here at this 1, okay, the first paragraph. Our numbers were between 28 and 30. I had but a few hours' warning of what was intended to be done. We first talked of setting fire to the ships, but feared the fire would spread to the town. We then proposed sinking them, but dropping that idea through fear that we should alarm the town before we could finish. So they're making a plan here of what they're going to do. I'm on paragraph 2 now. We had noticed that very few persons remained on board the ships, so we finally concluded that we could take possession of them and discharge the tea into the harbor without danger or opposition. So opposition would be like fighting, right? Someone coming back at you. To prevent discovery, we agreed to dress to resemble Indians as much as possible. We smeared our faces with grease and lampblack or soot and we should not have known each other except our voices. Our most intimate friends among spectators had not the least knowledge of us. So they are really in disguise. I'm on paragraph 3. At the appointed time, we met in an old building at the head of the wharf. We fell in one after another as if by accident, so as not to excite suspicion. So they don't want people to be suspicious or wonder what is going on. We placed a sentry at the head of the wharf, another in the middle. I'm on page 251 now. And one on the bow of each ship as we took possession. We boarded the ship moored by the wharf. So the ship is attached to the wharf on the dock. Our leader, in a very stern and resolute manner, ordered the captain and crew to open the hatchways. He ordered them to hand us the hoisting tackle and ropes, assuring them that no harm was intended to them. The captain asked what we intended to do. Our leader told him that we were going to unload the tea, and ordered him and the crew below. They instantly obeyed. Well, it seems like they were scared. Some of our number then jumped into the hold and passed the chest to the tackle. As they were hauled on the deck, others knocked them open with axes. Others raised them to the railing and discharged their contents overboard. So they're taking out these big boxes of tea, breaking them open, and they're throwing them all in the water overboard. All who were not needed for the discharging of this ship went on board the others, tied them to the wharf where the same ceremonies were repeated. We were merry in undertone at the idea of making so large a cup of tea for the fishes, but we were still as the nature of the case would admit, using no more words than were absolutely necessary. We moved quickly from the moment we left our dressing room. I never worked harder in my life. All right, so I would encourage you to skim that over again on your own so that you can gather a little bit more understanding, because it helps us to really have stronger comprehension. Remember, understanding what we're reading? Stronger comprehension of the text if we read it more than once through. Thanks, guys.